Have you ever found yourself getting jealous as you read through social media because you want to be posting on social media about your course launch and how it was a rousing success? You want to shout from the rooftops that you didn't just get one sale, but in fact you got more than you planned for and your audience has grown exponentially. You've seen the posts that share that exact news. But when it comes to your launch, all you can post is that you've had low or no sales after months of effort, a course that's detailed and packed with valuable information, and you even spent money on ads that ended up costing you instead of adding to your bank account. Now what? Well, there are two paths forward. You can throw your arms in the air and proclaim it to be unfair, or you can take 5 steps that will help you get back on the horse and have a different outcome with your next launch. Which will it be? Continued effort to get the rewards that you have on your vision board, or head back to that 9-to-5 job that you left when you felt so unfulfilled?
Anyone can add a digital course to their business. So what sets the 6-figure course creators apart? You're about to find out. Welcome to the Digital Course Creator Podcast with Dr. Maura, a longtime entrepreneur now using her PhD in psychology to help you go from sticky notes to sales worth celebrating.
All too often, I hear and see course creators who are sharing that they have finally launched their course. They created the requisite email sequences, the lead magnets, the webinar or challenge, the sales page, the welcome emails. They've triple checked that Stripe is connected correctly to their sales page, and then nothing. Nothing happens. No clicks, no sales, no new students. Despite having followed everything on the to-do list that leads to a profitable digital course business, the profit and loss statement is still trending more steadily toward loss than profit. It's so heartbreaking because we've put our heart and soul into the course, the content, the materials, and every little piece of the business, only to find out that something isn't working. And there isn't a real clear sign that's pointing to what piece isn't working optimally. It's really common to go into first, second, or even third launches of a digital course and expect a 6-figure success. We see gurus sharing their 7-figure course launch results. We see million-dollar business owners sharing that they hit that 6-figure course launch target and even blew past it. It leads digital course creators to adopt the belief that 6-figure course launches are the norm. Because those 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners had massive ad budgets, we see their businesses daily, up close and personal. We're inundated with their success and their positive energy. It's really easy to understand why we would adopt these launch beliefs as well. But the truth is that there are far more digital course creators who have 0 sales during their first, second, third, and even fourth launches. I mean, if every course creator were successful with a 6-figure launch right out of the gate, then we wouldn't need memberships that support course creators to figure out why their launch didn't quite work, or how to grow their next launch so that it works better and gets them to that 6-figure mark. We have to take a closer look at launches and what creates success, what creates a launch with 0 sales, what's completely in our control, what's completely out of our control. I remember my first launch. I was so excited. I had over 20 people, yes, I said 20, with confirmed interest. I had heard that the first $1,000 in business was the hardest, and after that, it got a whole lot easier. So I launched my first offer, and I had, I think, 6 people join me. I hit the $1,000 mark, and I rejoiced. After all, the first $1,000 was the hardest, right? And I got there in my first few weeks of business. I mistakenly thought the hardest part was over. Let me tell you, it was not. That second launch, I added one more person. The third launch was a complete flop with 0 sales. My launches were getting more refined, my process was smoother, my offer was more aligned with what my audience wanted and needed, and my confidence was high. I felt comfortable with the process. I was really excited. The more I researched, the more I read and listened, the more I realized that this wasn't unusual. In fact, the first launch is often filled with people who know us. They are ready for our offer. They're eager to say yes. They're hot leads. They're just ready. It's the second and third launches that are often harder. And there are 5 keys to stopping the momentum of a failed launch and turning it toward the profit side of a profit and loss sheet. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I'm going to share with you the very first step that I encourage even the most dedicated and fast-moving entrepreneur to take after a failed or even a successful launch, because it's critical to all of the remaining steps that you take to up-level your next launch. Most people, when they've had a failed launch, fall into one of 2 groups. The first group wallows for months and mourns the failed launch without making a plan for moving forward. The second group of entrepreneurs goes gung-ho toward the next launch and pretty much steamrolls through that failed launch. If you watch the Gilmore Girls, you might remember when Rory and Dean broke up for the first time, I think it was, and Rory was just plowing through life. She went to a school party, she went shopping with her mom for all kinds of things for the house, including, I think, a hose, and generally stuffed her emotions into a Tupperware container and sealed the lid on them. Then, after a few days, her mom, Lorelai, came home to Rory on the couch with a tub of ice cream, and Rory said that she was ready to wallow. And she released the emotions and started really feeling them fully so that she could move through that. If you take Rory's first approach and just plow through the feelings and emotions, there's going to be very little growth and introspection that happens. Without that introspection, without looking within and reflecting on the launch, your business is not going to grow. Business growth is not likely to happen. Without that growth, your next launch is likely going to come to the same conclusion as the first launch: 0 or low sales. If you take Rory's second approach and grab the tub of ice cream and settle into the couch to wallow, you risk putting your business on the back burner and getting stuck in that wallowing. So what is the solution? Well, the middle ground. Wallow and then move forward. You need to take some time to wallow. Feel your emotions, let them out. It is okay to be disappointed, angry, frustrated, scared, sad, cranky. You put so much effort into the process and something didn't work. You don't have to hide that. In fact, when you take time to process those emotions, it can have a really positive impact on your mindset and even your creativity, which will lead to taking action and trying again. I'm sure you can think of a time when you tried something that didn't work, and when you took a walk around the block, you came up with an idea that solved the problem. We need time, we need space to think clearly and creatively. It's where that creativity comes from. And if we stuff our emotions down without expressing them, they're just bottled up. It acts like a dam acts in a river. It stops the progress. When the dam breaks, there are often catastrophic results. There's flooding, there's injuries, there's infrastructure damage. We don't want that for our business. Our business requires that we master our mindset, and part of that mastery comes from expressing and managing our emotions in a healthy way. If you do this, the creativity, the adjustments, the next steps become much more clear, and you find the energy to put them into action. This is critical to business longevity and avoiding burnout. Now, if mastering your emotions in the wake of a business setback is new to you, or you'd like to be more effective at that in the future, Be sure to stick around to the end of today's episode. I'm going to be sharing my top 3 reflection questions in the 60-second solution to make emotion mastery just a little bit easier. When you have managed your emotions and done just a bit of wallowing, you can take the next step to adjusting for your next launch. I'm about to highlight one of the biggest reasons that launches fail. Most digital course creators become so immersed in their course and their expertise that it is difficult to take a step back and really understand their audience. I've seen countless course launches where the audience isn't aligned with the course offer. And this might be because your audience includes friends and family who, yes, they're supportive. They are not ever going to buy the course you've created. It could be because you don't have a large enough audience of qualified buyers, people who are ready, able, and willing to invest in your course and invest in themselves. When you look at an email list, it simply oftentimes doesn't have enough people on it. If we are thinking about maybe a 5% conversion rate from email list to your paid offer, and you have 20 people on your email list, that's maybe one person who's going to purchase. If you want a launch with 100 sales, it stands to reason that you need 2,000 people if we're sticking with that 5% conversion rate from list to course. Now, when we're talking about a first launch, you do likely have a hotter and more engaged group of people that you're selling to. It's a little easier to make those initial sales without having big numbers. Remember my first $1,000? Those folks were ready, willing, and able to make an investment. With second and third launches, and even beyond that, our list is often colder. By colder, I mean that these people are likely newer to our world. We haven't built up as much trust with them, and they might not be ready to say yes to our course offer. Even if the offer and everything else is perfect, they just need more time. This is even more true if you are gaining your audience through paid ads. It's also possible, if you're running paid ads, that the audience you created for your launch is misaligned with your offer. And once that alignment is fixed, then your next launch can be more successful. When you take time to look at your audience, you're not only going to get into better alignment, you're going to learn about your audience. You're going to be able to create realistic expectations for your launch. Skipping this analysis of your audience, doing that deep dive into your numbers around your audience before launching again is the equivalent of Groundhog Day. In all likelihood, you will relaunch and get the same results you got the previous time. A failed launch is no fun. But a solid post-analysis can make a world of difference. Most people automatically assume that one or a few things are off with their launch if the launch doesn't go how they planned. One of the most common questions that comes to mind is whether or not the course, the membership, or the offer is quote-unquote good. It is very unlikely that your offer doesn't have amazing content, bonuses that are going to help your students, and support that will help them to succeed. If you're listening to this, I know you're putting in the effort. So what does good mean? As a scientist who has conducted research over the years, I'll be the first to tell you that we need to define good if that is going to be a measure of what we use for our launch. Without a definition, you can adjust things, you can tweak this and that without ever making progress. Instead, what if we define what a good offer is first? So let's think about a few questions. Is the offer based on what the potential student needs? Does it clearly state the benefits of the course or the offer in a way that has someone raising their hand and saying, yes, please? Does the offer invite the potential student to be the hero of the story? All three of these come back to a foundation of messaging that is engaging and hits home for the audience that you're launching to. I will never forget, I was on a call with a client, and out of the blue, they said that they wanted to be the go-to resource in their industry. Now, I routinely talk about my clients being the go-to resource. It's part of my messaging. It's something that I've used for years. And this client was using this in their everyday language. We want our audience to resonate with and begin to use the language of our messaging. We want them to raise their hand and say, yes. It doesn't even really matter what name you assign that hero. I call them the go-to resource sometimes. It is the explanation, the stories, the examples that make them sit up taller and listen more intently. We want them to identify with our messaging. Without messaging that resonates and calls out their pain, their needs, their struggles, their successes, they are not seeing themselves being reflected. We want our messaging to act like a mirror. And not a funhouse mirror that distorts everything. We want our messaging to act like a mirror that accurately reflects who they are and who they want to be, even before they can put that into words for themselves. With some of the hard concepts tackled post-launch, like taking time to reset, looking at our audience, and even going back to our offer, we can look at some of the somewhat easier things to work on. Again, these will all require mindset mastery, a willingness to shift what we have done to this point and being okay with shifting our beliefs and perspectives on what will be needed. If you find that your emotions are near the surface and you're constantly feeling a push to say no or but, stick around to the end of today's episode. I'm going to walk you through your emotions with an eye toward moving forward. Now, looking at your emails post-launch can be filled with a little bit of trepidation because we often have strong beliefs around the emails that we send. They're personal. They represent our ideas on the screen for people to consume, to delete, to hit spam, or to say yes to. You know what I'm talking about. You've likely sent an email, but only after hovering over the send button for 5 minutes, wondering, can I make this better? Is this really what I want to send? You've probably pulled back on sending another email so that you don't risk annoying your audience. And then you've wondered, was that the one email that would have made the difference? Oh, man. We experience so much trepidation around our emails. If you send emails that don't make a clear offer, share the exact reasons why someone should say yes to your offer, and send enough emails to get noticed in a crowded inbox, you are likely limiting your launch success and revenue. Spend some time going back through your email content, the metrics, and even how many emails you sent. I will tell you that you often need to send far more emails than you think you need to send, and definitely more emails than you feel comfortable sending. Emails need to highlight the importance of making a change, i.e., choosing your offer, or not making the change, continuing on the way they have been. We have to, as entrepreneurs, as creators, have to help our audience to see what happens when they take action and when they don't take action. We have been talking about failed launches today. Steps to take after experiencing a failed launch. Now, failed launches mean something different to everyone. It might mean missing your sales goal by a mere 10% or 5% or 2%. It could mean making no sales at all. Regardless of how you're defining an underperforming launch, you want to take action to correct the issues so that you have a truly solid launch the next time. I'm about to share with you our fifth and final thing to look at after your failed launch. With any launch, it is key to look at the launch mechanism that you chose. Most people learn about one launch mechanism, like a webinar, and they just jump in. They go full tilt forward. The problem is that not all audiences will respond similarly to each launch mechanism type. If you have an audience that absolutely loves a challenge, they love the live elements, they love to be able to go in and do homework, then consistently running webinars to launch your offer is going to result in lower sales. You have to look at not just what you prefer as the entrepreneur, but balance that with what your audience prefers and then adapt. It might mean a mix or a mishmash of launch mechanisms. But at the end of the day, if you are mixing that in so that your audience is able to participate, your sales are going to go up. There are so many wonderful launch mechanisms out there that you can explore. You can test out things, see what works best for your audience. I watched a course creator recently share that he was not going to run a live challenge anymore for his audience because they flat out did not have the time to show up live and interact. They told him this. They wanted something different. And so he is switching his approach to better fit the needs of his audience. This is the key to launch success, being flexible. We've talked about different facets of a launch that need to be examined when your sales goals are not met with that launch. Whether that is the launch of a course, a membership, a coaching program, or some other offer, we have to be objective. We've got to look at the data. We have to look through the different pieces of the process and identify areas for improvement. And I love to call this process one of trial and correction. A lot of times we hear the phrase trial and error. That means we've done something wrong. When we can look at what we've done, we say, you know what, this is an experiment. Let's make some adjustments. With each launch, we'll learn something and we can correct our course based on the data that we receive. As you take action this week, as you think about your launches, whether they're past launches or upcoming launches, what is one aspect of your launch that you can re-examine? You can and should do this regardless of the success of your launches. Whether you are working on making your first 1,000 or you are working on going from being a 6-figure course creator to a 7- and 8-figure course creator, the key to improving launches is to look and reflect on what's been done. Today, we have been talking a lot about coming back from a failed launch to get different results. This is very much a strategic process. But if you'll remember, we started today's episode with more of a mindset-based task, and that's something we're going to come back to again at the end of today's episode. But mindset is something that I've been managing it in my own business with my students in my college courses for over 15 years as a psychology professor, as a mentor, as an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you that too often in the world, we are not bombarded with mindset stuff. We're bombarded with learning solutions. Learn this and you'll be able to do that. It puts us in this cycle of learning without taking action and often without recognizing the importance of mindset. We can't just rely on learning to get up to that 6-figure mark as a course creator. The books, the podcasts, the courses, the workshops, they will all get us partially there. Probably 10% of the way there. But the other 90% often comes down to mindset work that comes with having one-on-one support. If you are listening today and you're realizing, I'm ready to take the next steps in my business. I want that one-on-one customized, tailored help to build my digital course creation business. Let's sit down and have a talk. Send me a DM at Digital Course Creator Guide, either on Instagram or Facebook, either works, and we'll sit down to figure out your next right steps for your digital course business. Now, that being said, I know not everyone is ready for a one-on-one coach or mentor, but you might still have some questions. Maybe you need help getting unstuck or just plotting the next step. I'm here for that as well because we all deserve to have support in our business. If you need a little bit of extra support right now, I have at least 2 slots each week for strategy calls that are designed to help you get unstuck and take action in your business. These are free, no obligation calls, and you can schedule your call at coursecalls.com if that's what you are looking for. If you are ready to make the next 12 months the year that you go from being an uncertain course creator to a 6-figure course creator, schedule that strategy call today at coursecalls.com. I'll also pop the link in the show notes for you. We started out today by talking about mindset, and that's really where I want to wind us back to. I promised you that I would share with you a little bit about how to manage your emotions and mindset throughout a launch and after a launch. Mindset is such an important part of a successful digital business, but often it gets pushed to the side as something that's just fluff. When you experience a course launch, it's really easy to then dive into the numbers, look for ways to improve. In fact, that's what most entrepreneurs do after a launch. But if we just jump into the numbers, we aren't going to see the growth that's plastered on our vision boards. Becoming a six-figure course creator won't be a reality because mindset mastery is at the core and foundation of success. If you find that mindset's tricky to navigate and your emotions after a launch are just kind of pinballing all over, take 15 minutes and reflect or journal on these 3 questions. What emotions would I like to set aside? And what emotions would I like to lean into as I prepare to dissect my launch? What would it look like if my mindset didn't try to sneak in and undermine my efforts? What would be possible? What is one affirmation, one quality that I love about myself that I can put on a sticky note that I see every single day? Use these questions to start getting settled into your emotions, but in a way that allows for growth rather than chaos. And if you want more quick solutions for building a successful digital course business, hit follow now.